Well, hello and good morning. It is a lovely morning out here in New Delhi, though it is a little bit foggy, but we're bringing you WION Breakfast. I'm Charu Shankar.
And I'm Sejal and even though my throat is down with the chills, we're still serving you WION Breakfast this morning.
Right. That's right, piping hot as always. But before moving forward with the show, here are the heads up this morning.
This morning on WION Breakfast, we'll tell you how growing number of people are taking to sport to cope up with mental toil in Hong Kong.
And in our fitness segment, WION Stretch, we bring you Purvi with her unique yoga mantra that's going to keep you fit.
And after you've sweat it out, we've got you some yummy-licious breakfast for all you food lovers. Check out what's on Quick Bites this morning.
So lots lined up for WION Breakfast this morning. But before we begin, I think it's time to take you on a world tour, well, a whirling world tour, a really quick one around the world in 60 seconds to see what's been making the news. Well, Prime Minister Theresa May's plan to take Britain out of the European Union has cleared its first legislative hurdle.
Well, India's finance minister on Wednesday presented a budget that will spur growth by increasing spending on rural areas and infrastructure.
That's right. And in the US, the White House has given a hint that Pakistan could be included in US President Donald Trump's travel ban list of Muslim countries.
And Pakistan has imposed an international travel ban on Jamaat-ud-Dawa chief Hafiz Saeed.
India clinches the T20 series against England 2-1, and that is the sports news this morning. Well, that of course was the world in a very quick 60 seconds. But let's talk now about the refugee crisis, which is really sort of plunging the world in this terrible dilemma. You know, it's a human dilemma of, you know, what to do with people who are fleeing their countries.
And did you think there are world leaders who are welcoming these refugees with open arms, and there are, on the other hand, there are world leaders who are banning all of these refugees from coming into the country?
That's true. That's true. But on a lighter note, do you think sports could actually be the solution to the problem of, you know, the kind of low spirits that come with refugees?
It's pretty similar to take your broken heart and make it into art.
Make it into
art. How art helps you heal. I think sports also has the ability to heal emotional toil.
Well, Hong Kong certainly thinks so. Hong Kong does not give refugees a permanent home. People fleeing wars and persecution can spend years in the city hoping to find sanctuary in a third country. As a result, a growing number are turning to sport to help cope with the mental toil of a life in limbo. Take a look at this story.
A training session with a difference. Many in this Hong Kong running group have escaped war or persecution in their home countries.
Those refugees don't have any access to psychological help here in Hong Kong, and running is just a very easy way to help them feel better and recover from the trauma.
Nina is one of them. She declines to say how she came to flee to Hong Kong, but talks up the benefits of sport.
They forget about the situation and how is life hard here. Then they forget about everything. They do the physical things and they make them good for their health and mind, everything, yeah.
Hong Kong gives its 11,000 asylum seekers and refugees security, but as its government has not signed the UN's Convention on Refugees, not much else. People who arrive here won't be sent back home, but they have no rights, no home, and little to do until their cases are heard. which can take weeks, months, or even years.
They have no options to integrate locally, they have no right to work, they have no ability to really build a life for themselves here. And this is a big problem because you have people who are essentially in legal limbo indefinitely, and that takes a real mental toll on these people.
Naina has lived like this for 12 years. She relies on government vouchers for food and accommodation. Sport, though, has offered her a glimpse of something better. Thanks to a charity and another NGO, she has started practicing yoga.
When I resettle, I'm going to start work as a yoga teacher. That is my main point and the important thing for my life.
Naina's case is still being processed, and like thousands of others hoping to find sanctuary, the wait goes on.
What a great story coming in there from Hong Kong. But you know, Sejal, I've always believed in the power of exercise to bring you out of any dire situation. I mean, I certainly wasn't thinking about refugee crisis.
Yes.
I mean, that really is a crisis of like a phenomenal level.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
but just physical activity, you know, we know scientifically it releases endorphins and
Yes,
other
it
feel-good
does.
hormones, gives you a sense of being in control, being in
Yes.
power, of doing something,
Right.
you know, of
And
not helplessly sitting in a situation.
Exactly. Even in a helpless situation, you're actually constructing something, you know, which is, you know, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Any kind of sport, any kind of art, dance, anything, you know, just pause and press play and refresh yourself.
And refresh it. And like you said, it's not just about what it's doing for you, it's also
Right.
that it brings you together in a community.
Right.
You know, because it's not always you just by yourself. You know, you
Yes,
become a part of a
absolutely.
larger community of runners or a larger community of yoga or Tai Chi practitioners or whatever it is. And that sort of, you know, coming together of people also is something that greatly favors. the
Absolutely,
arts.
I completely agree with you. And I think all of us, instead of just focusing on ourselves, we should think about the community that we live in, focus a little more, actually a lot more in my opinion, but we could start with focusing a little more on, you know, the community rising together.
That's
But while there are certain things that we have in our hands, there are certain things that we don't. And here's climate change that's happening.
That's true.
The situation is growing worse day by day by day by day. And right now we're almost at the melting point of a lot of glaciers around the world. And with Pakistan's northern glaciers melting, its population surging, sorry. The country's climate change time bomb is already ticking. Here's a report.
Fields of rice and wheat in the heart of Punjab, Pakistan's breadbasket. Despite a growing population which may surge past 300 million in 2050, Pakistan remains self-sufficient in agricultural terms. But this stability is threatened by climate change. Floods are common, and any variation in water levels causes headaches for farmers who face losing their crops.
There is a deficiency in the monsoon rains, and secondly, they're not taking place in time. When we need them, they don't take place. And when we overcome the lack of water, then it starts to rain.
Pakistan is mainly irrigated by the Indus River. It flows from the country's northern mountains, which house the world's largest reservoir of ice outside the poles. Here as well, signs of global warming are very much present.
So these places were irrigated by this glacier. Now it is melting down very deep.
Javed Akhtar grew up in these mountains and has witnessed changes in the landscape, like here on the Pasu Glacier. He now works with a team of glaciologists measuring the impact of climate change.
When 8 to 9 meters of glaciers are melting in a year, it means that a calamity is coming. We need to prepare ourselves against the threat of global warming.
A threat which risks affecting the whole of Pakistan. One of its most vulnerable areas is the sprawling southern city of Karachi, where a heat wave last summer killed over 1,000 people. The city's water supply is almost entirely from the Indus, but it already struggles to meet even half of its residents' water needs. And that's not the only challenge.
Heat waves will be frequent in future because Karachi and coastal belt temperatures are moderated by sea breeze. And sea breeze is disconnected when there is a low pressure area in Arabian Sea.
Heat waves, floods, water scarcity, the future looks bleak for Pakistan. But in a country plagued by terrorism and a huge energy crisis, environmental issues are rarely at the top of the agenda.
Well, climate change certainly is the dire reality of the modern times that we live in.
Absolutely.
But there are so many things that we can do, to just mitigate climate change at an individual level. Reuse, reduce, and recycle.
Yes.
And in whatever way you can, reduce your carbon footprint.
Absolutely. Like I was saying, Charu, we should stop thinking less about ourselves. We should stop thinking more about ourselves and think more about the community and how we're going to live together. But on that note, it's time now to take a short break. We will be right back on WION Breakfast. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're watching WION Breakfast, and it's time now to take you across the world for more stories. Now, just before we went into a break, we spoke about climate change and how it's impacting the glaciers of Pakistan. And we also spoke about reduce, recycle, and reuse and reducing our carbon footprint. But modern life very often, more often than not actually, comes in conflict with nature, and climate change takes on, well, even more serious repercussions, especially when it comes to losing our wildlife. Take a look at Kenya, for example, where the 12,000 elephants living in Kenya's Tsavo National Park already face the threat of poaching and climate change. But now, conservationists are concerned about the construction of a new high-speed railway cutting through their habitat. Take a look at the story.
On a mission, not to kill, but to conserve. The high-powered rifle is loaded with tranquilizer darts. The aim, to fit 10 elephants with satellite tracking collars. Once the animal falls asleep, a ground crew rushes in, with just 20 minutes to fit the collar and carry out tests.
We take blood samples to monitor, for example, diseases. Also, we take tissue samples for genetics analysis. We also take things like fecal samples for gastrointestinal parasites. So we do a number of things. We do morphometric measurements. We measure the body parts to see the growth rate in elephants, and also to compare with other areas with a similar habitat.
The 12,000 elephants living in Kenya's Tsavo National Park have long been victims of poaching. But conservationists fear the new 300-mile high-speed railway linking Nairobi to Mombasa will also threaten their movement.
The main objective of this exercise is to try and quantify how development, and more so the standard gauge railway, is affecting elephant distribution. And we're only using elephant, it being a keystone species, then it will give an indication of how this actually affects wildlife distribution in general.
The rail line cuts the national park in two, and the team from the Kenyan Wildlife Service and conservation group Save the Elephants will use the radio collars to monitor elephants' use of various crossing points along the track.
We've managed to get a few elephant crossings put in, so underpasses that elephants can use, which is great news. On its own, that could ensure the connectivity of this landscape. Unfortunately, the next phase of this infrastructure development is a 6-lane highway.
So understanding how the railway impacts the animals here is crucial. It's hoped that tracking the elephants could help ensure economic growth doesn't come with wildlife as its biggest cost.
Well, one can only hope that these majestic animals do see a bright future ahead of them, do have a bright future ahead of them, don't you think so, Sejal?
Absolutely. For our we have to ensure a bright future for them, for our bright future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, climate change is scary. I mean, we just had a story from Pakistan about melting glaciers.
Right.
Now, melting glaciers also means a terrible rise in sea levels, and that actually puts us all at risk, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And there are reports of islands, complete islands drowning into the seas. So, and luckily enough, these haven't been very, very rehabilitated, but when we move on to our main areas, our major areas like Mumbai and Manhattan, for example, major threat to life and property, and extreme devastation can happen.
Absolutely. But there is one country who has historically withstood rising sea levels, and we are of course talking about the Netherlands. Now, the Netherlands has built thousands of kilometers of dikes, dunes and barriers to protect its low-lying land from the North Sea. But today, as climate change threatens a devastating rise in sea levels and more violent weather, Dutch expertise is increasingly in demand from vulnerable countries around the world. Take a look at this.
From the windswept coast to the heart of its towns, water is everywhere in the Netherlands. Half the population lives on land below sea level or at risk of flooding. And without a 17,500 kilometre network of dikes, dunes and barrages, Europe's fifth largest economy would be in deep water. In 1953, devastating floods killed nearly 2,000 people and left 72,000 homeless. It forced the Dutch to improve their sea defences, so much so that today they pride themselves for having the safest delta on the planet.
The levels of safety that the Netherlands maintains for the flood protection, it is about 100 to 1,000 times as much as in many other countries, in most of the other countries.
An impressive example is the Eastern Scheldt storm surge barrier. At 9 kilometres long, it can completely close off the mouth of the estuary to protect it from the unpredictable North Sea.
Water is a risk, but also an opportunity, and that is exactly what the Netherlands learned in the past and will learn the world in the future, is if you embrace water and that culture of living with it, you can actually develop a way forward.
As climate change causes water levels to rise and turbulent storms to become more frequent, know-how from the Netherlands is in global demand. 2,500 Dutch firms work in the water industry, doing some 17 billion euros of business every year. After Hurricane Katrina ripped through New Orleans in August 2005, the Netherlands played a huge role in reconstructing the city's sea defences. And in Southeast Asia, Dutch experts have worked to shore up defences from Jakarta to the Mekong Delta.
There's often huge interest after a disaster. But we'd like to see more preventative work which will help protect people in the long term.
According to the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, sea levels will rise more than 0.5 metre by 2100. Having learnt hard lessons in the past, it's likely Dutch engineers will be at the forefront of helping the rest of the world adapt in the years to come.
Wow.
Beautiful, beautiful country, Netherlands, and I can't help but think that if there is a actual rise in the water levels and something happens to these beautiful countries, it's going to be a shame that I've never even seen these places and visited these places.
You must go now.
I must go now.
You need to go like now.
now, but more than that, we need to preserve these beautiful places across the world, and we really need to take some steps to move forward.
Yeah, I love this story. I mean, of course, all those visuals from the Netherlands are so beautiful. Yes. But also just like the sheer grit of the Dutch people, in constructing these amazing defenses, yes, to buffer you from nature and from climate change. Right. That's amazing. And the fact that the same technology is being used now in different parts of the world, to sort of safeguard their country. That's really
It's almost
phenomenal.
like they've been holding fort for years.
Yeah, isn't that great? Isn't that great? Like literally defending yourself against the waves.
Right,
literally.
absolutely.
Wow. Well, on that note, it's time to take a very short break. But do stay tuned, as Sejal and I will be picking up the newspapers after this very short break. Welcome back. Well, before we see what the newspapers are reporting this morning, let's take a look at the headlines this hour.
Britain's Brexit bill clears first legislative hurdle, paving the way for the government to get Brexit negotiations underway.
Tax cut by 5% for those earning between 2.5 to 5 lakh rupees. No tax on earnings up to 3 lakh rupees, says Finance Minister Arun Jaitley in his budget speech.
Two days after house arrest, Pakistan imposes international travel ban on Janmat-ud-Dawa chief Hafiz Saeed along with 37 others.
US puts Iran on notice after ballistic missile test. Well, those were, of course, the headlines this hour. But now, let's see what the newspapers have for us. Sejal and I will be picking up the newspapers and we will be reading between the lines. Well, Sejal, all newspapers are all about the budget. The budget. That's all there is everywhere. So just a quick sort of roundup of what the budget really helped for us. I'm looking at the DNA, which has a really quick sort of a roundup of the budget. So it says growth mantras committed to doubling income of farmers in 5 years, providing employment and basic infrastructure for rural population, energizing the youth through education, skills and jobs, strengthening social security, healthcare, affordable housing, infrastructure, etc., etc. But the agenda for 2017 is TEC, TEC, which actually stands for Transform, Energize and Clean. And India seeks to transform quality of governance. It needs to energize the youth and the vulnerable and enable them to unleash their true potential, and needs to clean the country from corruption, black money and non-transparent political funding. Now this, of course, formed the basis of the entire budget, which of course was laid out by the Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, yesterday. So basically, the budget made it very clear that India is definitely going towards a cashless economy. No transaction above 3 lakh is permitted in cash anymore. Duty has been waived off for machines needed for digital transactions, etc. So this is a government that is truly committed to going cashless. And a lot of incentives, along with this, of course, were announced in the budget going forward.
And we
the other big news. Sorry, you were saying?
No, I was saying that earlier this year when Prime Minister rolled out the demonetization scheme, all of us were expecting something to come up in the budget for him to remonetize the economy after demonetizing it. So it looks like they've taken steps towards it. And
definitely.
We will only have to wait and watch how much do they remonetize our economy this year.
That is it. Now it is a waiting game. Like the budget is basically, you know, sort of outlined very broadly in what direction the government is going to go into. Now it remains for the machinery of the government to actually kick in and start the entire process. So it's going to be a very exciting year, I think, for the Indian economy. The other big pointers in the budget were, of course, political funding. Now, the maximum amount of cash donations for a political party have been set at 2,000 rupees per person. And with the upcoming elections, this certainly is supposed to have fairly big repercussions, because parties can receive donations by check or digital mode only, and changes in the RBI Act will be made to enable issue of electoral bonds. Also some relief for the poor. Mahila Shakti Kendras to be set up with allocation of rupees 500 crores. Rupees 6,000 each will be transferred directly to bank accounts of pregnant women for hospital delivery and vaccination. So some good news coming in there. There's also a lot of I think quite a lot that's been allocated towards education, but I think you want to explain
There's almost
more
like
about that.
10% increase in the education budget since the last financial year.
So that is really good news.
That's
I
really
think.
good.
I mean, education is definitely a sector that needed that push.
Absolutely.
It needs it even more than 10%. But anyway, 10% is definitely a good start.
It's a good start. It's a good start, but on the flip side, the budget allocated for the education sector still remains one of the lowest of the crucial ministries that comprise of the Prime Minister's cabinet.
Yes.
However, there are a few changes that have been made. Regulations have been made. For example, there have been reforms for higher education and there have been regulations in the University Grants Commission. The government is going to set up an autonomous agency that is going to conduct centralized tests across the country. And this is going to, it's going to free CBSE and the IITs from conducting tests at the national level, right? So that they can concentrate more on education and concentrate less on administrative responsibilities. Exactly. So that's what they're setting up, the National Testing Agency for the NTA. We'll have to again wait and watch.
Yeah, I was just thinking,
when do they set this up and how do they go about
how it
this
actually impacts the children, because and these are very young children that we're talking about. This is school and college, like so.
And the government has been making some changes, you know, every year, every few years in the education structure. For example, if you remember, the Delhi University courses were increased from 3 to 4 years. Right?
Yes.
At our times it was 3 years a course, but these people rolled out a 4-year-long course and then they revoked it.
They revoked it, yeah.
Right. So I mean, we'll have to still wait and watch, even though that measure was taken in children's towards children's advantage, towards increasing, empowering them with education, but it sort of turned out the opposite way. So we'll have to wait and see whether this is going to see the light of day or not.
Wow. Enough about the budget, I say. Enough about the budget, but that's all the papers have for us.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to just step slightly in a tiny bit of another direction, but I'm still talking about investing here. This is from the TOI, and I found this article really interesting. 10 investing thumb rules is the title of the article. It's about how fast your money will grow. Now, it says that career is your biggest asset. It's not really, it starts off by saying it's not gold, it's not real estate, stocks or bonds. Your biggest financial asset is your career, and choosing the right career and giving it enough respect in terms of time and enough space for you to grow, that is going to be your biggest asset, you know, in the years to come. So they've taken a 20-year period and sort of laid out how, you know, statistically it's going to work. So but look at the article under that. It says 10 investing thumb rules, and this is the one that really caught my eye. So it says career is your biggest asset, but not the only one. Understanding the ever-changing dynamics of stock market, real estate and commodities, which is gold and silver, requires more time and expertise than most people busy building their careers have. And I know that this is true for us, right, Sejal? I mean, stock market, real estate and gold and silver is basically like I never think about it.
Never.
Never think about it.
Never thought about investments, retirement plans.
So here are like 10 investing rules for dummies, okay, basically. So the first one,
like you and me.
People like you and me, total dummies when it comes to these things. There's the rule of 72. So the rule of 72 says this tells you how much time your money will double.
Okay.
So divide 72, the number 72, by the interest rate at which you are compounding your money, and you will arrive at the number of years it will take to double in value. So for example, if you put in your money at a 9% interest rate, then your money will double in 72 divided by 9, which is 8 years.
Fascinating,
isn't it?
Super fascinating and super simple for people
really
like us
good
to remember.
So in a similar way, there's the rule of 114, which will tell you in how many years your money will triple.
Okay.
And there's the rule of 144, which tells you in how many years your money will quadruple.
Wow.
Easy, right?
Easy. Simple to remember.
Really simple.
Double, triple, quadruple.
Yeah, 72, 114 and 114.
Awesome.
And you have a pretty good idea of like...
Right. And when you were just starting, I thought there's only one or two, but I mean, here's an entire tray of things served.
There's also a few other things that it says. The other rules. Okay, the other rules include the 10, 5 and 3 rule, which says that this is a neat little rule that states that you can expect returns of about 10% from equities, 5% from bonds and 3% on liquid cash and cash-like accounts.
Right.
So interesting there. And then there's also the emergency fund rule. So this I thought was very, very relevant. It says, put away at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in a liquid savings account to ensure it is available at short notice. Now, I think this is just common sense.
Yes, it absolutely is, and it's not like we've never thought about it. You know, we have, but we never get on to doing these things.
Yeah, but we must. I mean, and it seems easy enough. 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. You have a basic idea of what your expenses are in a month. Just make sure that you have like 6 months of that available at all times in a liquid kind of form, which is not tied up in any kind of bonds, any kind of land or anything. It's available. So this is really good. And the other one that I love is pay yourself first rule. So this, of course,
for retirement.
It says right from your first salary, put away a little for your retirement. And experts say 10% of your income should go into this. And it is very, very important to increase the amount as your income rises over the years. So start with 10% and just, you know, increase it, like keep stashing stuff away for your retirement.
Right, but one step at a time. I think
one step at a time.
We should start with first investing and then saving for retirement. Probably we'll never get there, Charu.
We will.
We can only hope.
We must do this from today. Come on, in honor of the budget.
Set aside a piggy bank.
Set aside a piggy bank. 10% is much more than your little piggy bank.
Absolutely, 10%. Yes, 10% it is. Moving away completely from the budget, here's something from Facebook. Not very good news coming in. We spoke about phishing scams happening with our Gmail accounts, being threatened. Yes, so now it's Facebook, and there are people who are making carbon copies of profiles. This tactic is known as cloning. So they basically create the same account with the exact same name, exact same personal information, profile pictures, cover photographs, and they even you know, go on to adding people on your friend list, so that they probably send out a message saying new account or whatever, and they send out a friend request to everyone that they can see on your friend list. So and they end up creating an exact same account. Now by creating this account, they use the exact same name, personal information, and profile cover photos included on your profile. Even go far as copying your statuses. They can do a convincing job of imitating you online. The scheme allows them to confidently approach your family and friends who may unknowingly accept a friend request from the clone and eventually share private information with them.
Oh no, this is very scary, because I mean, I've sort of seen these emails. You know, they have made their way into my inbox, but before I answer, you know, anyone, you know, with any kind of personal information or any kind of help that they're asking for, I always try and contact that person first.
That's
more often
the best
than
way
not,
to get past
more often than not,
the same has happened with me, and it's turned out invariably every time this has been a hacker or a fake account person.
Scary.
I always go back to the old account that is still there on my friend list, or I try to contact them through phone, email, anything that's possible. And I do, before accepting this friend request, I do check with them, because I don't think anyone will reach out to you during an emergency through Facebook.
Through Facebook, yeah, that's true. That's true. I think that's something we must remember. But you guys have done something about this in Tech It Out, I remember.
Yes, and we've spoken about, you know, some rules, how to secure your account. So there are tips and tricks. But on a lighter note, Facebook is celebrating its birthday on the 4th of February, and so are we, along with Facebook. It's been I believe 13 to 14 years. It's been 13 years of Facebook, but it's Facebook's 14th birthday this year.
Wow.
And as a gift, Facebook has received Hugo Barra from Xiaomi. The vice president of Xiaomi stepped down earlier this year, and he's going to head the virtual reality section at Facebook. So exciting things are happening at the Facebook headquarters right now.
And you guys are covering this for Tech It Out?
Yes,
I think that's amazing. I look forward to that show. Yes. Okay, coming back to the budget now, Sejal. On a lighter note, now the budget was one very, very heavy piece of news to watch. But look at all these cartoons that have come out. There's our finance minister riding the piggy bank, because you know that was part of the whole budget scenario.
Right.
It is about saving. It is about going digital.
But the pig looks pretty angry in this one, yeah.
And of course, like trying to push up the statistics.
Right.
So
things that he struggles with probably
hilarious cartoons coming in. All of these are from the DNA. There, I hope he's cutting taxes there with those massive pair pair of jagged
Probably
scissors.
that's the idea.
I thought, yeah, I think that is the idea.
Right. And there's so much thought that these illustrators put into portraying a real life situation.
Yeah.
I think, again, fiction, I've always believed this, fiction is much more beautiful than reality.
And he's carrying a large apple over there, but he's sweating away. Well, hopefully that will become the size of our burgeoning economy going forward.
Right.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up our newspapers for this hour. But do stay with us on WION Breakfast, because after this very short break, we're coming back with fitness and with food, and of course with what the Twitterati are up to on Twitter. Well, it's time now for WION Stretch.
Yes, it's time now for WION Stretch. I think we've given you all the updates from across the world, and it's time for you now to get up and stretch. So here's Purvi bringing you her yoga mantras. Check out the amazing power of yoga from her personal fitness mantras.
Hi, I'm Purvi Ahuja Bakshi, and today we'll be exercising for the abs and the core muscles, as in how to tighten our core and keep our stomach flat. So let's start. So we'll quickly lie down on your back with our hands under our hips. Slowly go down with your elbows on the ground and point your toes towards the front, and slowly bring your head, softly touch it on the ground. Take a deep inhale and exhale and come up, and from there slide down a bit. Keep your hands on the sides, put your legs together and move your torso up with an inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale, and from there put your hands on the sides. Take a deep inhale, keep your legs a bit apart and go in a chakrasana and hold and feel the stretch in your stomach, and from there slowly go down and relax and straighten your legs and put your legs together, bring them close to your chest and hug your shin, touch your forehead to your knees. Take a deep inhale and exhale and release your legs, and from there slowly come up. Inhale and exhale. Put your legs in a cross position. Take a deep inhale and twist towards the back. Feel a twisting in the spine and engage your core and relax. Inhale and change the leg. Inhale and exhale, engage your core and relax. And from there, turn towards the side and just stretch your arms, stretch your legs and feel the pressure. And inhale, exhale. That's all for today. Thank you so much.
Some beautiful yoga asanas out there, but we're pretty sure that all of that exercise is making you very, very hungry. So here is Chef Anil from Rasta Cafe bringing you some nifty, nifty breakfast this morning. Take a look.
Hi, I am Chef Anil from Rasta. Today we are making smoked chicken sandwich along with the tropical Caribbean salad. We start first for French bucket. Spare on it, arugula leaves, Oloroso, cucumber, finely slice it. Some salt, crushed pepper, Sliced tomatoes. It's a smoked chicken. Now we are making tropical Caribbean salad. It's a dressing, sesame orange dressing. It's orange. It's dried prunes. Assorted. Mix it. Some more dressing. Roasted sesame.
Wow, that looked really, really delicious. That open sandwich and that lovely, crusty, shining salad.
Right. Huge fan of open sandwiches.
Well, now it's time to move on to Twitter. And the hashtag that has really been making us giggle in office has been my weird gym story. Do you have a weird gym story, Sejal?
Charu, my weird gym story is that the first time I entered the gym was to shoot.
Oh,
check it out. Ankle
really?
links, yeah.
All right, well, we have weirder stories than that. Claudia says, one time I was in gym class and I slipped and fell and hurt myself real bad, but the scuff mark was so big, all I could do was laugh. Okay. My weird gym story. I have way weirder gym stories. I have really funny gym stories.
Funnier than this?
Definitely, definitely.
I asked this old guy if he was done with the machine. He told me once he gets off a machine and he never looks back. That's Skylar's weird gym story.
Skylar, well, I think, Skylar, you do meet really odd people in the gym. All right, Messing Up Motherhood says, to the woman in the locker room doing her warm-up. Do you know this locker room has a gym, right?
This one's the weirdest gym story so far.
Well, I sometimes also do my yoga in the bathroom because I don't want to wake up my son, so not that weird to me. But Osama says, I once saw someone walk in, stretch, look at the treadmill and walk out.
That was probably me.
You get all sorts. Okay.
I was on the elliptical until a guy told me the FBI was stalking him on his phone. The Wi-Fi was named FBI. That's what Comic Shan's
that is really
my weird gym story is.
That is really odd. All right, Rebecca says, I let go of the stair machine handlebars to adjust my shirt, lost balance, fell off, took two people down with me. That is the weird
Don't go down alone, take people along with you.
Yes, that's right. You take them along for the ride. Well, with that, it's time now to unmic ourselves from breakfast this morning. But do connect with us via Twitter. You can tweet to us at WION_breakfast, or you can tweet to us at our individual Twitter handles. We do love to hear from our viewers, so do write in. For now, I'm Charu Shankar.
And I'm Sejal Pandey. We also go live on Facebook every morning. You've been watching WION Breakfast. Stay tuned for more news and other updates on World is One News. But while we leave you with these beautiful pictures from the lunar celebration continuing in China. See you.